Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet Nashta Praesha Badreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. Reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 27, entitled Indra and Surabhi Offer Prayers. And today we are hearing text number 3 and 4. So we'll chant number 3. Please repeat. Drishta Shrutanubhavosya Krishnasya Tejasaha Nashtatri Lokeshamada Idam aha kritanjalihi Idam aha kritanjalihi Drishta Shrutanubhavosya Krishnasya Mitatejasaha Nashtatri Lokeshamada Idam aha kritanjalihi Drishta Shrutanubhavosya Krishnasya Mitatejasaha Nashtatri Lokeshamada Idam aha kritanjalihi. Please chant. Krishnasya Mitatejasaha Nashtatri Lokeshamada Kritanjalihi. Drishta Shrutanubhavosya Krishnasya Mitatejasaha Nashtatri Lokeshamada Idam aha kritanjalihi. Drishta Shrutanubhavosya Krishnasya Mitatejasaha Nashtatri Lokeshamada Kritanjalihi. Vaishnavis. Drishta Shrutanubhavosya Krishnasya Mitatejasaha Nashtatri Lokeshamada Idam aha kritanjalihi. Drishta Shrutanubhavosya Krishnasya Mitatejasaha Nashtatri Lokeshamada Idam aha kritanjalihi. Drishta, seen. Shruta, heard. Anubhavaha, the power. Asya, of this. Krishnasya, Lord Krishna. Amita, immeasurable. Tejasaha, whose potencies. Nashta, destroyed. Triloka, of the three worlds. Isha, of being the Lord. Madaha, his intoxication. Idam, these words. Aha, spoke. Kritanjalihi, joining his palms in supplication. Translation: Indra had now heard of and seen the transcendental power of omnipotent Krishna, and his false pride in being the Lord of the three worlds was thus defeated. Holding his hands together in supplication, he addressed the Lord as follows. So I'll just chant this verse, and it has a pretty long purport, so we'll go through that. Indra uvacha Vishuddha sattvam tavadamna shantam tapo mayam dvastarajastamaskam mayamayoyam gunasampravaho na vidyate te grahananubandha. Translation and purport by the disciples of His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. King Indra said, "Your transcendental form, a manifestation of pure goodness, is undisturbed by change, shining with knowledge and devoid of passion and ignorance. In you does not exist the mighty flow of the modes of material nature, which is based on illusion and ignorance." Purport. The great Bhagavatam commentator Srila Sridhar Swami has masterfully explained the Sanskrit elements of this profound verse. The Sanskrit word Dhamma has several meanings: A, dwelling place, a house, abode, and so on. B, a favorite thing or person, delight or pleasure. C, form or appearance. D, power, strength, majesty, glory, splendor, or light. Concerning the first set of meanings, the Vedanta Sutra states that the absolute truth is the source and resting place of all existence. And in the first verse of the Bhagavatam, that absolute truth is said to be Krishna. Although Lord Krishna exists in his own dham or abode called Krishna Loka, he himself is the abode of all existence, as Arjuna confirms in the Bhagavad Gita, where he addresses Krishna as Param Dhamma, the supreme abode. The very name Krishna indicates the all-attractive person, and thus Lord Krishna, the source of all beauty and pleasure, is certainly the favorite thing or person, delight and pleasure. Ultimately, these terms can refer only to Krishna. Dhamma also refers to form or appearance, and as Indra offered these prayers, he was in fact directly seeing the form of Krishna before him. As clearly explained in the Vedic literature, Lord Krishna's power, strength, majesty, splendor, and effulgence are all contained within his transcendental body, and thus attest to the infinite glories of the Lord. Srila Sridhar Swami has brilliantly summarized all these meanings of the word Dhamma by giving the Sanskrit term Sarupa as a synonym. The Sarupa means one's own form or shape, and also one's own condition, character, or nature. Since Lord Krishna, being pure spirit, is non-different from his body, there is absolutely no difference between the Lord and his visible form. By contrast, in this material world, we conditioned souls are distinctly different from our bodies, whether these bodies be male, female, black, white, or whatever. All of us are eternal souls, different from our temporary, flimsy bodies. When the word Swarupa is applied to us, it especially indicates our spiritual form, because our own form is in fact our own condition, character, or nature eternally. Thus, the liberated condition in which one's outward form is one's deepest spiritual nature is called Swarupa. Primarily, however, this term refers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. This is all indicated in this verse by the words Tava Dhamma, as explained by Sridhar Swami. Sridhar Swami has explained that here the word Shantam means always in the same form. Shantam can also mean undisturbed, free from passion, or purified. According to Vedic philosophy, all change in this world is caused by the influence of passion and ignorance. The passionate mode is creative, and the ignorant mode is destructive, whereas the mode of goodness, sattva, is serene and sustaining. In many ways, this verse emphasizes that Lord Krishna is free from the modes of nature. The words Vishuddha Sattvam, Shantam, Dvasta Rajas Tamaskam, and Guna Sampravaho Navidyate Te all indicate this. Unlike Krishna, we change from one body to another because of our involvement with the modes of nature. The various transformations of material forms are impelled by the modes of nature, which are themselves set in motion by the influence of time. Therefore, one who is free from the material modes of nature is changeless and eternally satisfied in blissful spiritual existence. Thus, the word Shantam indicates that the Lord is undisturbed by change, since he is free from the material modes of nature. According to this verse, the powerful flow of the material modes of nature, namely passion, stupidity, and mundane piety, are based on agrahana, which Srila Sridhar Swami has translated as ignorance. Since the Sanskrit root graha means to take, accept, grasp, or comprehend, grahana means grasp exactly in the sense of to grasp an idea or fact. Therefore, agrahana here means one's failure to understand one's spiritual position, and this failure causes one to fall into the violent currents of material existence. An additional meaning of the word agrahana is derived when it is divided into the compound agrahana. Agra means the first, top, or best, and hana means killing. The best part of our existence is the pure soul, which is eternal, in contradistinction to the temporary material body and mind. Thus, one who chooses material existence over Krishna consciousness is, in fact, killing the best part of himself, the soul, which in its pure state can enjoy Krishna consciousness unlimitedly. Srila Sridhar Swami has translated tapo mayam as full of knowledge. The word tapas, generally indicating austerity, is derived from the Sanskrit verb tap, whose meaning can be summarized as indicating the various functions of the sun. Tap means to burn, to shine, to heat, and so on. The Supreme Lord is eternally perfect, and therefore here tapomayam does not indicate that his transcendental body is meant for austerities, since austerities are performed by conditioned souls to purify themselves or to acquire a particular power. An omnipotent, perfect being neither purifies himself nor acquires power. He is eternally pure and all-powerful. Therefore, Sridhar Swami has intelligently understood that in this case, the word tapas refers to the illuminating function of the sun, and thus indicates that the Lord's self-effulgent body is omniscient. Light is a common symbol of knowledge. The Lord's spiritual effulgence does not merely illuminate physically, as in the case of a candle or light bulb. More importantly, the Lord's body illuminates our consciousness with perfect knowledge because the Lord's effulgence is itself perfect knowledge. We offer our respectful obeisances at the lotus feet of Srila Sridhar Swami and thank him for his enlightening comments on this verse. Om Jnana Timidandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Vandeham Shri Guru Shrita Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha Hey Krishna Kuruna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Paraya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Hey Dina Bandhu Guru Naika Sindhu Guru Prasada Mahimanda Mudhe Laksha Parade Pahupapa Gadhe Tat Pada Padme Stumachishcha Krishne. Text 3 Drishta Sritanu Bhavosya Krishnasya Mita Tejasaha Nashatri Lokesha Mada Idam Aha Kritanjalihi. So Srila Prabhupada referred to his Western disciples as dancing white elephants. So I apologize if you're unable to understand my English. I have no idea how to understand the Tamil language, and I fall at the feet of all the devotees here who know various different languages. They can speak, fluently in different tongues. It's very, it attributes to one's knowledge. So yeah, I apologize if everyone's not able to understand my American English, but I'll try my best to speak a little bit for some inspiration for the Salem devotees. The Srimad Bhagavatam is incredibly deep, and actually in the Adi Lila, Srila Prabhupada gives a statement that even if one verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam is explained for 3 months, it still won't be able to, it cannot be explained properly, even if you have the same class for 3 months straight, still the verse will provide more and more illumination. So, yeah, we're starting a new chapter, but it's all tied into this Govardhan Lila, which is a historic pastime of Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead. And there's a lot that's packed into this purport today, but I'm just going to share a little pastime from the Chaitanya Charitamrita to provide further insight into what we're hearing today. Because as one goes on hearing and discussing Krishna Katha, one will find that in the association of devotees, one gets deeper confirmations and realizations from Guru and Krishna that they are progressing in a very steady way. Just like I was speaking with a devotee, and he was sharing with me a story about Srila Prabhupada, and it was very nice. And I was thinking that, I've never heard this example before. And I came to class the next day and I heard the very same example. And so whenever we're engaged in hearing about the Lord, he'll give us, we can understand within our hearts that he's, reciprocating with us. And the Lord's glories are endless, and similarly, Srila Prabhupada's glories are endless. I'm always joking with one devotee from Atlanta, Kalki Prabhu, who spent some time here. And him and I are always sending each other photos of Srila Prabhupada. And I said, there must be someone somewhere who's even taking photos of Srila Prabhupada now, because there's so many photos out there. And seeing new photos of Srila Prabhupada with his disciples and followers, it brings one great inspiration. So like that, the devotees and Krishna, everything to do with Krishna is always fresh, it's always new. Navayovanam cha, this Nava rasa, that the devotee is experiencing a higher taste, so that they're able to give up attraction to the material energies. So I was going through the Chaitanya Charitamrita yesterday, and this all happened because of this commentary that we're hearing today from Srila Sridhar Swami. And Srila Prabhupada gives many, many statements about Sridhar Swami. And there's a really wonderful pastime in the Anti Lila with Venkata Bhatta and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So I'll explain that pastime a little bit. So Venkata Bhatta came to see Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Puri. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was telling Venkata Bhatta that you're a very learned scholar, but I'm just a Mayavadi sannyasi. He says, I don't know what Krishna Bhakti is. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went on to explain that there's all these devotees who know much better than I do. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was glorifying Advaita Acharya. He was saying, Lord Nityananda Prabhu, they know the essence of devotional service. He was saying, my associates like Srila Gadadhar Pandit and Sarup Damodar. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was going on to name all of his intimate associates. And like this, Srila Prabhupada comments this very famous stanza from Narottam Das Thakur, that Chadiya Vaishnava Seba Nistar Payecha Keba, that the Vaishnava, one has to perform Vaishnava Seva in order to obtain Nistar, which means to break free from the shackles of the material energies. So Narottam Das Thakur's prayers and bhajans are actually glorified by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. He says that his bhajans are Vedic evidence. They are just as good as the verses we hear in the Shastra. So these great acharyas give us access to the spiritual world via their songs and their prayers. And this is a very essential point in Krishna consciousness, is that one is always dependent on the authority. Just like there's a beautiful prayer in the 7th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, where Prahlad Maharaj is remembering his spiritual master. He says, Evam janam nipatitam prabhavahi kupe kama bhikano manaya prapatang prasangat kridvat masat shudashina bhagavan grihita soham katam navrisaje tavabritya sevam. Prahlad Maharaj is actually saying that, well, Narada Muni has saved me, and how could I ever leave his service? So we're seeing that the disciple is always dependent on the mercy of the Vaishnavas, the mercy of the Guru. Actually, Srila Prabhupada wrote about this prayer on his way to the west on the Jaladuta. He sings this beautiful prayer. And there's many, many verses like this throughout the Shastra where the disciple is expressing his indebtedness and feelings of utter dependence upon the spiritual master. So like this, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was telling Venkatabhatta that I don't know what Krishna Bhakti is, but there are all these great devotees who know. They know much better than I do. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was telling this to Venkatabhatta, but he had a lot of pride within himself. And anyways, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, well, you can go and meet them. And they end up organizing like a big feast, and all of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's associates are there, and the sannyasis sit down, and all the devotees sit down, and they go and serve a big, huge, chapan bhog, a huge feast from the Jagannath temple, and everyone's being fed very nicely, and all the Vaishnavas are fed. They're given garlands. Sandalwood is being put on them, and like that. Then they go to the Puri Ratha Yatra for the cart festival, and everyone's engaged in chanting and singing and dancing. And like this, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu still is being pestered by Venkatabhatta, and he wanted to give his understanding of the holy name and of the Srimad Bhagavatam. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu refused to hear his explanations. And so he eventually, kept rejecting Venkatabhatta. But Venkatabhatta was so stubborn that he ended up going to Gadadhar Pandit to force upon Gadadhar Pandit his explanation of Krishna's holy name. And Gadadhar Pandit said, well, I really don't want to hear from this person because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu didn't accept him. And Venkatabhatta insisted and, began to say his explanation about Krishna. And Gadadhar Pandit became very, he was worried because, he said Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very, very merciful, but his devotees, they're very, very critical. So if somebody sees me sitting with Venkatabhatta, hearing his explanation, what are they going to think? They're going to tell Lord Chaitanya, and he's going to be, he's going to feel offended that I listened to this aparadi. So, like this, Venkatabhatta forced his explanation onto Gadadhar Pandit. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, knowing the mind of Gadadhar Pandit, he, ended up giving forgiveness like that. But anyways, Venkatabhatta was still very eager to, prove his scholarly disposition. And eventually, after some time, he meets Chaitanya Mahaprabhu again, and he ends up actually criticizing Sridhar Swami. And there's this very famous verse that Lord Chaitanya says, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, Prabhu? Should I speak louder? Venkatabhatta. Oh, are you sure? Oh, okay. I was reading this in the Antya Leela. Was he known as Venkatabhatta previously? Oh. Okay, so Vallabhabhata. So Vallabhacharya. Okay, yeah, mixed up the name. Okay, thank you. Yeah, Vallabhabhata, thank you. Yeah, Vallabhabhata was finally met with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he began to criticize Sridhar Swami and basically say that his explanation of the Srimad Bhagavatam was improper. So, and then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has said that whoever disregards the Swami is actually a prostitute. And it said that all of the devotees who were present became very satisfied by hearing Chaitanya Mahaprabhu criticize Vallabhabhata in this way. And it's actually stated, which is why I'm explaining this pastime here, that the way Vallabhabhata was corrected by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is how Lord Krishna actually smashed the pride of Indra. So these pastimes are connected in a similar way. And yeah, Vallabhabhata was, criticizing different devotees. He was debating with Advaitacharya, and it said that, he was compared to like a duck within the society of swans, who could argue with a great personality like Advaitacharya. He's the head of all of the Brahmins in West Bengal. And Srila Prabhupada is explaining that Advaitacharya, he's such a great personality because he was able to give Krishna consciousness even to the malechas, even to the meat eaters. And Prabhupada is explaining that, if a person is able to convert a meat eater into Krishna consciousness, then they're on the topmost level of Vaishnavism. And it's amazing, actually, the potency of Krishna consciousness. There's many verses you'll come across in the Shastra about a person who is a dog eater, a swapacha. Even a person who eats dogs, a very low-born, very fallen person, if they come in contact with Krishna consciousness, they can become totally purified. And this is exemplified in so many pastimes we see of, Jagai and Madhai, the most sinful rascals. And Lord Nityananda was very, very merciful to them. And this is the correction of Vallabhabhata is an important point to understand because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wants all of the living entities within the material world to be happy. And similarly, when Indra offended Lord Krishna, it's stated that Krishna didn't actually accept the offenses of Indra. He rather created a way for him to understand how Krishna and only Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because, Indra tried to, take the offerings that were meant for Govardhan, worshiping the Govardhan Yagya, but Krishna displayed his omnipotence just by lifting his little tiny finger, where Indra was, working so hard, sending huge rainfall like the size of pillars on the residents of the Vrajajanas, the residents of Vrindavan. But Krishna just effortlessly proved that he was demonstrating his supremacy, and no one else but Krishna can do this. And I was making this connection that Prabhupada is explaining in these pastimes that one cannot defy the previous acharyas. And this is also stated again and again and again throughout the Shastra, that acharya upasanam, that one has to worship the acharyas, that one should never try to supersede the guru or the Vaishnavas, but should always remain very humble and submissive and willing to follow their order. Srila Prabhupada says this word, shraddhadhana, that one should become a shraddhadhana devotee, meaning that they hear the words of the guru very, very faithfully. And I was thinking actually that, if we don't endeavor to hear Srila Prabhupada's message, then we'll eventually commit some, aparad or some offense to the teachings of his divine grace. Just like Indra didn't realize how great Krishna was, so he, offended Krishna in a pretty extreme way. And like this, we hear so much about how the modern day International Society of Krishna Consciousness is actually on a mission drift. And Lord Indra had somewhat of his own mission drift. He wasn't actually, worshiping and hearing the glories of Krishna. And we have to hold ourselves accountable to, carry forth the message of the Guru Parampara. And it's actually very important that we hear from our Guru Janas while they're still here, because this fact alone is going to determine the pushing forward of Srila Prabhupada's legacy, how much we're hearing from our gurus while they are still here. There's a disciple of Srila Prabhupada named His Grace Chandrasekhar Prabhu. He actually wrote a very beautiful booklet glorifying Bhakti Vikash Maharaj, saying that he is the maintainer or the cleaner of the marketplace. So Chandrasekhar Prabhu is a very dear devotee, but he has these pastimes called the 13th canto. And we know, obviously, we have cantos 1 through 12, but he gives these different stories from the 13th canto, he calls them, where it's devotees having these, personal exchanges with Srila Prabhupada, where sadly enough, within, the next decade or so, these opportunities for us to hear about, those devotees who saw Srila Prabhupada, who had opportunities to render personal service to Srila Prabhupada. We're entering into a decade of tears that we're seeing devotees, almost daily who are leaving, continuing their service like that. And Bhakti Vikash Maharaj makes this point, and other worshipful devotees also, that the inability to establish Daiva Varnashram is actually a symptom of Guru Avagya, that we're offending the spiritual master by not implementing his instructions. And by offending the Guru, we can see that there's a lot of, turmoil within the society. Just like, Advaita Acharya and his sons, three of his sons were pure followers, and then there was another branch where they interpreted the scripture in their own way, and, there was a division. So devotees are always very careful to follow on the straight line, just like, Srila Prabhupada gave so much credit to, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, this Vyavasa Yatmika Budhir, Ekeha Kudunandana, that his spiritual master's order was his very life and soul, and they are always giving credit like that. So we have to be careful that we don't become prideful and become, influenced by illusion and ignorance and the modes of material nature. But daily we have to submit ourselves to the lectures of Srila Prabhupada and the books of Srila Prabhupada. The Bhagavatam says, Tato Jayam Udirayat, that it's our very means of conquest, is Jayam, Tato Jayam Udirayat. We can gain victory by hearing the words of Srila Prabhupada and actually memorizing them and etching them on the core of our heart. And this is only done by surrendering to Guru and Gauranga, actually. That the mercy can only be attained by serving the devotees of the Lord. Yeah, there was a lot packed in today's purport. It was quite technical, actually. So I chose just to speak a little bit about Sridhar Swami and how much he's known as the original commentator of the Srimad Bhagavatam, and so much respect is given to him. And this whole connection with Vallabha Bhatta and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, there's explanations given how it's tied into this pastime of Lord Krishna removing Indra's pride like that. And I'll end with a little story. I'm from America. I live in Atlanta for years, done a lot of book distribution in Atlanta, and Srila Prabhupada spent time in Atlanta. There's a little temple there where there's Gaur-Nitai deities, and there's a famous arrival address where Srila Prabhupada came there, and he sang this Parama Karuna bhajan, and Prabhupada totally fell into ecstasy, and he started crying, and shortly he just had to end the gathering, and Prabhupada walked out. And there was tons and tons and tons of book distribution happening there in the early days, and then we sort of did a little bit of a revival of that in the modern day 20th century, because there's a massive airport there in Atlanta, the Hartsfield Jackson International. It's the busiest airport in the world. So our devotees would go there and just distribute hundreds, thousands and thousands of books. But to illuminate this message that we're hearing about Srila Prabhupada's instructions to establish Daiva Varnashram, it's 50% of Srila Prabhupada's mission. We hear so much, Bhakti Vikash Maharaj speaks about this in volumes. But there's a nice story that I'll share. When Srila Prabhupada was on a morning walk in Atlanta with his disciples, and there's a very famous park there called Piedmont Park, and our devotees go there. We see it as like a tirtha, because Prabhupada's lotus feet grace that park. And it's just some busy park there in Atlanta. People come there and have picnics and go around with their children and stuff like that. But we'd go there and just carry backpacks full of books and wagons full of books and just distribute books to every living person you could find. And so anyways, there's this park, Piedmont Park, and Prabhupada was walking with his disciples, and Prabhupada raised his cane and he traced the skyline of the city with his cane, and he said, "They will all starve." And Prabhupada asked them, why will all these people starve? And someone, no one could really understand. They were thinking, Prabhupada's going to give some sort of esoteric explanation. They will all starve. Prabhupada was pointing towards the high-rise, skyscraper buildings. And then suddenly, Tamal Krishna Maharaj says, they will starve because they can't grow their own food. And Srila Prabhupada said, yes. They were thinking, some esoteric explanation, but we see that Srila Prabhupada's message was always very, very practical. Anad bhavanti bhutani, that living beings actually subsist on grains. And Srila Prabhupada would always bring it back to that point that, the living entities, everybody has to eat. And this whole system that we're so, grossly tied up with is, it's all running by petrol. Prabhupada says that petrol will eventually run out. And we can see even, during the COVID times, people were, driving their trucks to the stores and, removing everything from the shelves. And yeah, we have to meditate and actually make arrangements for ourselves to become, dependent on Krishna, because the more we're intertwined with the Ugra Karma society, the more we inherit these demoniac qualities. The Bhagavad Gita says that one should acquire Daivi Sampat, that they should acquire, divine qualities. But, if we mix with people who are killing cows and are drunkards, there's no way that we'll be able to, develop these finer sentiments that the living being is actually supposed to experience, this cultivation of the human spirit that Srila Prabhupada speaks about in the light of the Bhagavad. So, yeah, I always like to speak about how the temples in the city are simply meant just to preach to people and make them Krishna conscious, and actually send devotees to live on a farm and demonstrate how we can become closer to Krishna by living in harmony with his creation. This is one of Srila Prabhupada's very urgent desires. He was giving instructions so many years ago to, establish a Varnashram college. He said, do it right now. That was in 1975. And we can see how the Krishna consciousness movement is not as strong as it could be. Hear ourselves to those instructions more clearly. And yeah, this topic of mission drift is one that we should contemplate regularly and make sure that we're pushing on Srila Prabhupada's mission the way that he desires. Prabhupada came to New York and did lots of Harinam. He encouraged his disciples to, do lots of book distribution, to go out, preach, meet people, have, wonderful feasts. But the kinds of preaching nowadays, some devotees, I don't know what kind of preaching other people do, but obviously Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission is one of, loud chanting, public chanting, blissful festivals, and wonderful association like that. And yeah, I'll stop. If there are comments or questions, we can have a little conversation about anything devotees want to share. Please forgive me if I explained anything in an improper way. Anyone can ask a question. Does anyone have any reflection they'd like to, something that they heard or stuck with them? You can have a little conversation. No?